Hello everyone. Welcome to the Ocean Sound Storytelling Channel. I am the storyteller, and today I am so happy to be with you. You may be curled up under a blanket or listening with your ears on a soft pillow. Wherever you are, whatever the time, thank you for being here. Before we begin with an interesting story, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, so I know you enjoy relaxing moments like this. Where are you from? Send me a little hello in the comments. I would love to know which corner of the world you are listening from. Now, relax your body. Close your eyes and let the gentle waves take you into a gentle story, a little strange, a little mysterious, but warm enough to lull you to sleep all night long. So, are you ready? Tonight's story begins. Tennies. Time of contact 15:05:01. Impact force 6,000 newtons. Serve speed 135 petras. Distance traveled 25.5 angle 60 degrees to horizontal. Velocity 82 s. Required service. Return response 10 paces. Left moving forward 30 degrees. Commence swing at 15:503. Apply 5,500 newtons of pressure in a topspin forehand shot with an upward trajectory of 35 degrees to the horizontal. That's what the voice of the AI vocoder instructs inside me head for the umpteenth time this session. And who am I to argue? It's not like I'm important. Not like I was ever a champ, much as I came close. Nah, I'm just a chump, now more than ever, prancing around the ryegrass on me hydraulic legs, returning the volleys of the hottest new prodigy on the block, tailor-made to appeal to Gen Xer. In today's case, in this exhibition matches case, in this latest exercise in humiliation of a former tennis pro, now referred to as a legacy player, but nevertheless expected to lie down and be shamed by an AI-driven, Tekla-encased wonderkind designed for clicks and likes. Me opponent is a silver-plated female with a digital display for a face that portrays fluttering anime eyes and a head of artificial dreadlocks. Silver sequined tennis dress that just about covers a polished butt. Pink Bandita's solar-powered shoes that transfer energy into speed through soul-based combustion. Soul-based. Cause that's the only soul that robot has. The only soul this game has anymore. Since AI took over in the 50s, machines became the players du jour, and humans abandoned the game because they couldn't compete. Well, the smart ones did. The ones who didn't sell out. The losers still chasing that win. The stubborn didn't know what else to do with their lives after tennis, morons like me. And now I'm here in Wimbledon, facing off against 10NIS Inc.'s latest creation, the embarrassingly named, I don't want to say it, don't even want to think it, but I can't help it. 'cause it's painted in chrome letters on her arm, and she screams it every time I throw a point. Tenise, 10. Ice, get it? Like Denise, but with cause. Yeah, that's the best one of the biggest promoters in modern day sport, or neural integrated sport, as they call it, could come up with. Anyway, here I am, fulfilling an obligation of the ill-advised contract I entered into when 10 didn't want to sponsor me for tournaments anymore, pretending I'm here for a comeback, the 4th this year if anyone's counting, while in actual fact here to make Tenise famous. Jesus. I still can't believe someone thought Tenise was a clever idea. And it took them 8 years to come up with it. But if it keeps the fans following the sport, if it keeps the heart of tennis beating long after badminton and golf and frickin' darts have breathed their last, that's the important thing, right? Physical sports for humans have been going the way of the chariot race for decades thanks to VR. And nobody cares, except those of us who have it in our DNA. And all we had to do to keep playing was mutilate our bodies with mechanical limbs and armor plates. 1010 S-controlled neural uplinks, computerized smart eyes, and carbide jaws, fiberglass ribs, atomic-powered hearts, and a willingness to do what we're told. Simple, right? What self-respecting tennis pro wouldn't want to go that extra mile to keep competing? And competing I am, if you can call it that. So as the vocoder says, 10 paces forward at 30 degrees, swing at 1503, 5,500 newtons of pressure in a topspin forehand shot with a trajectory of 35 degrees it is. And there's the contact. And there's the return at a whopping 104. And there's Tenise, moving to intercept in line with guidance from her interface. Dreadlocks whipping, skirt lifting, metal ass glinting in the sun, while her polymer crystal-based titties jut out in front like guided rockets. Of course, she moves perfectly to return the shot. The inbuilt speaker where her mouth should be screeching another tirade. Think you're gonna cease Tenise's piece? Try again, stinky, old has-been McEnroe. It's McEnroe. Fuck's sake. If that bitch says McEnroe one more time, I swear to Christ, I'll thwack. Tenise swings and volleys. You'll what, Mike? Pull a stunt like your namesake from last century? I don't think so, says Nora, me manager, the other annoying voice inside me head. Thwack! I follow instructions and lob the ball back. Oh, and did you forget about matching the speed of Tenise's shots? You're 5 in 3 boy faster than her. Stick to the playbook. Thwack. Tenise with some digital grunting. What's the matter, Nora? Can the new dolly not take the heat? Oh, she can take it. I had her set to slow for you. Thwack. Me, without so much as a pant. But if you want to go faster, pile it on. I spit through diamond implant teeth. You spent all this money powering me up. May as well let me employ it. Thwack. Tenise. Show off, you mean. Like an old boy trying to stay relevant. Tenise. Ball velocity cap. Disengage. Smarmy bitch. I'm more relevant after 40 years in this game than any old 10 NIS's androids, like Bjorn Bot, or Android Agassi, or Robot Federer. What happened to them when the novelty wore off? And don't get me started on Steffi graphics. Unless she's considered relevant for popping a gasket and decapitating people with her racket. The chip in me brain tells me how to return the ball that's rocketing towards me, and I dutifully oblige, channeling more energy into me piston-powered, omnidirectional shoulder. Thwack! 150, says Nora. Fuck me. You're asking for it. Rebellion is frowned upon. The board won't be happy. Like they weren't happy about Steffi? That happened on your watch, right? Hope I don't get you in trouble. Thwack. Tenise Hoopin, 155 return. Fuck off, Mike. Don't remind me. Steffi wasn't ready. I was forced to play her. Because S-Port were debuting Virus Williams. It was a PR disaster. We barely survived. Thwack! At a speed of 107 verdump. I send back the ball, and fanboys in the audience boo at the stinky old man droid who dared think he could take on their idol. But that's okay. I didn't really think it. I'm not here to win. I'm just here for the paycheck. To do what 10 NIS need. Promote their new star. Increase her follower base. Raise revenue for the future of the sport. But nobody cares about that. Not like I did as an up-and-coming, then a contender, then a pro and almost a champ. Even when I failed in 6 finals, lost me edge, dropped out of the rankings, and was relegated to the local leagues. It didn't matter. I loved tennis. It was all I knew. And I wanted to win. Just once. Even when the robots took over. I couldn't let it lie. Couldn't do what Megan said and quit. Fuck that, I said. I'll compete till I win or I die. Even if it means modifying me body so I can enter the robot leagues. 'Cause flesh and blood didn't cut it anymore. Not with the greater stakes. With robots taking each other's arms and legs off, punching holes in each other for the pleasure of fools. Yeah, McEnroe had to stay in the game, even when Megan left, 'cause I became a freak. And now look at me, a meme, a salesman, a phony. Thwack! Tenise returns the ball and cavorts, shouting, "Take a piece of Tenise and decease." What's with these poems, Nora? They don't make any sense. Not my idea. Heads up, Mike. Coming at ya on autopilot. Following instructions. I move, swing, strike with even more power. Tennis cranked it up to 160. I hit it back at 165. Ugh, board aren't happy, Mike. Told ya. There's a termination contract for you to sign after you finish this set. Thwack. Duck, Mackenrobo. Tenise strips the fleece from the geese. 170. One more game after this to give Denise a 6-0 finish in her debut appearance. You should slow down. You've got an old Model A heart. They're volatile if they overheat. Thwack. 175. Back at the missile-titted bimbot. Beads of sweat on my forehead. One of the few human parts of me left. Haven't felt that in a while. It's nice. Okay, you're not listening. Time you lose your jaw, Mikey. And maybe break an ankle when you fall. Thwack! Still 40-15 to Denise, but Denise will increase. This is the bit that wrecks me, Noodle. Having to let myself be torn apart. 'Cause that's what the peeps wants to see. Destruction and mayhem. Players busted up. Pieces scattered. It's all right, 'cause it's just robots. Robots and crazy old bastards. Funny, after 2 years of this performatory bullcrap, in this particular match, against this particular droid, I think I've finally awoken. Maybe not, I say, as the ball careens toward me at 180. The vocoder is delivering instructions to ensure I mistime me swing. I've played this out dozens of times, always in the next last game. Play well till then. Make it look like I might win. Then fuck up and let the newbie triumph. I'm sick of it, and I don't fancy losing today. Not to a robot named Denise. So I ignore the vocoder and instead of deliberately missing. I try to actually send the ball back. It doesn't work. I'm old. I don't have me own reflexes. Trying to override the instructions downloaded into me brain takes effort I'm not used to. So even though I have a decent stab at it, the ball still hits me in the face. Not quite square like it should, but still with the force of a bullet. Hinges snap, carbide cracks, screws and cogs go flying as the metal jaw tears from me face, ripping muscle and skin from me cheeks as it tries to come free. I don't want to break me ankle, and I consciously try to avoid it. But the way I pirouette to the ground makes it fait accompli. It doesn't hurt. The leg's not mine. It's a carbon-based replacement, filled with cables and pistons, metallic blue, like all me robot limbs. But like a real leg, when the ankle joint snaps, it's no use. Take that Mackin-Robo 4030. Did you seriously try to ignore a direct instruction from 10NIS after what I just said? Nora, in me ear. Well pissed. Denise doing jumpin' jacks and whistling. The crowd on their feet, cheering and laughing at the old boy down on the ground. Fuck off, Nora. I've had enough. It's not easy to talk with me jaw hanging crooked and blood from me cheeks filling me gob. But she seems to understand me, gargled Lingo. Oh, really? Okay. Well, I was going to let you get up before Denise resumed play, but screw that. And I'm not sending mechanics to fix you. You can finish your career on your ass, and McEnroe, stay down. I'm warning you. I don't need 2 mechanical ankles to stand. don't need a broken robot foot. 2 twists and a tug is all it takes to rip the thing off with me metal arm. And then I use me racket to get up, hoppin' on one leg, holdin' me severed foot in me left hand. The foot with the sock of jagged metal where it broke at the ankle. 10 ice has already served by the time I'm upright. Me vocoder is silent. No information about the approaching ball. No instruction on how to intercept. It's all gone quiet, except for Nora. I swing me racket aimlessly and miss. The ball slams into me chest at 190 millionaire and knocks me flying, down on me ass again. And I carve up the ryegrass with me buttocks, while the crowd point and laugh. Yeah, laugh it up, you useless gee-bags. Like any of yous fat fucks ever swung a racket. 40, love, 5 games to 0. Tennis spins, tennis grins, tennis wins. Stay down, McEnroe. If you sit the rest out, I'll make sure she grounds the balls around you. Not on you. I told ya. Fuck off. Do ya not? Listen. I shake me head and blood and oil geyser from me maw. Me severed foot and racket are still in me hands. The racket, like a crutch, helps me up, as wires snake through a crack in me chest plate. The shoe in me, left hand, goes to me ear, the ear with the implanted comms link. Me ear is real, flesh and blood. 1% of the 30% that's still me. And I don't care. Mike, what are you doing? I swear I don't know what she swears she'll do. 'Cause I stab the sharpest shard of metal on me foot into the space between me ear and me noggin. Plunge it deep. Scream as I saw, and I slice, blood blotting the grass red beneath me. I carve, and I cut, and I hack, and when I've done as much as I can, I cast the shoe aside and use the pincer-like fingers of me metal-plated hand to grasp and pull, skin and cartilage tear as the ear leaves me body, and I forehand it into the audience, not cheering or booing anymore, but giving me all their attention. That's nice, but too little, too late. Sayonara. Left ear. I'll miss ya nearly as much as I missed me. Left nut. When the bastards castrated me for the fluorescent yellow ball slams into me nose, driving the metal shield that's screwed to it into me skull and pulversing the bone underneath. And that's not the worst of the damage done by the first volley in the final game of the set, which has kicked off without any warning. Nora's shut down me vocoder. Not that I care about that, or the fact me right eyeball was knocked from its socket by the impact and is dangling by a fiber optic cable, swinging like a pendulum and smearing the blood from me nose all over me cheek. 15 love. 10 ice defeats elites with receipts. Does anybody hear this shite? Who programmed this bitch? And why can't she read the feckin' room? Everyone's on their feet, but not a peep out of one of 'em. Robots smashing robots is fine. But when the color of the splatter is red instead of black, it's a whole different ballgame. Like when Steffi Graphics ran amok. Won't be long till they're tarring Denise with that brush and running for cover. Thwack! I have to turn me head to seek out the incoming ball with me good eye. But it's moving so fast, over 200 mph, that it's hit me racket hand before I find it. Not just hit, but carved through, lopping it off at the wrist. 30 love. Denise is the beast from Venice. You're no beast. You're not from Venice, and that's not how you say it. Little wonder today's the day I decided to pack it in. This really is the nadir. Down on one knee, no foot, no ear, busted nose, dangling eye, no racket, or even a hand. But I don't need one. Me arm's more useful without it, 'cause the blade-like spike at its end can slip into a rupture in me chest plate, allowing me to prise it open more. McEnroe! Nora's voice reaches me, and I wonder how I can hear it, until I notice she's now standing at the sidelines, wringing her manicured hands and shooting me daggers. All right, Nora, come to applaud? Thwack! The ball hits me square on the forehead and busts me metal skull like an overripe melon, knocking me flat on me back to spill blood and brains on the lawn. 40 love. If you can't beat the heat, take a seat in the street for Denise. Me vision flickers. Me few remaining nerve-ending scream. I grimace, but ignore the pain. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing before Denise finishes me off. If not with a ball, then another of those god-awful poems. What are you doing? I hear Nora shout, as me left-hand side armor plate pops granting access to me chest. What I should have done ages ago, I managed to utter, before drawing me right arm back and stabbing its spear through me ribs. Fucking tiring, I gasp as I probe inside me chest, using me arm like a fondue fork to fish for a mallow in a vat full of thick, bloody sauce. Tanis is the knees of the bees. Tanis is chirping to the crowd, who are filling the stadium with screams and stamping their feet. Not in appreciation of the spectacle before them, but in panic as they try to escape. McEnroe, have you lost your mind? You're... Ah, shit. Nora sounds closer than before, and from the corner of me dangling eye, I see her approaching. Good. She's gonna want to witness this, the termination of me contract, and the literal extraction of me heart. Me bio-organic heart, with the atomic core, installed in place of me, real one to keep pace with the robots. It comes out through broken ribs on the end of me arm, which has pierced it with its spear-like, jagged tip, causing it to vibrate and hum. You wanted me to make your girl famous? Mike, your heart's ruptured. It's not safe. Tennis serves up treats with techniques. I'll make her feckin' famous. Mother Hub, stand down. Tell Denise to stand. Thwack! She must have said, down. But nobody heard it. Tenise's ball collides with the volatile heart I'm holding out at 250 miles an hour. And as me regrets, and me remain in humanity, and me misguided, stubborn as fuckness go all up in flames, I finally find myself peace, content in the hopes that Tenise and 10NIS won't survive today's PR disaster. How do you like that for a comeback? 28 sleighs. Later, above the laughter and Christmas music, the bang against the door came. Thump, thump, thumped Paul Reyes sighed. He patted his wife's hand and pushed his chair away from the table. Don't worry, love. I've got this one. Rosemary frowned at him. But everybody's here. Who could it be? He stopped. Rose had framed the doorbell with tinsel. You couldn't miss it. It would take a brain-dead person to knock instead of ringing. He shrugged. Carolers, or something. I'll give 'em a quid and tell 'em to bugger off. A round of laughter rippled around the table. The playlist swapped over to Wham's Last Christmas. Outside in the front hall, the door shuddered again. Thump, thump, thump. It banged hard enough to make the door vibrate in its frame. Annoyance flickered in his mind. The nerve of some of these charity-begging types. He wasn't one to sniff at donations, but give a man ample time to get up. And don't knock his door down like you're the wolf versus the three little pigs. He hurried along in his slippers. I'm coming, I'm coming. Hold your horses. But still, the banging continued. Thump, thump, thump. The little panes of glass at the top of the door vibrated and threatened to shatter. The figure of a man swayed beyond, blurry and dark. Paul gritted his teeth. He'd have some stern words for whoever it was. It didn't matter what good cause they were raising money for. This behavior was downright rude. He slid the chain off and yanked the door open. Oh, for goodness sake, what's your prob? The man behind the door barged through, snarling and screeching. He wore a parka coat with its fur-ringed hood raised. It framed his mess of a face. He had blood smeared all across his skin, and his nose was missing. A window shattered somewhere in the back of the house, and a woman shrieked. Paul's stomach dropped, and he screamed. He grappled with the invader and grabbed a hold of his shoulders. What? He grunted. Let go of me. The man clawed at Paul's shirt. He leaned forward and snapped his teeth. His breath was rotten, and he had bits of ragged meat caught between his teeth. He snarled like a wildcat, and his eyes were white, except for tiny pinpricks of blackness in the center. He flinched backwards from the bites. It was almost as if the maniac wanted to bite his nose off, too, as revenge for losing his own. Whatever was wrong with him, drugs, he guessed. He was dangerous, and Paul had to stop him. Paul grabbed the nearest thing from the shelf on the wall, an animatronic snowman. He smacked the madman across the face with it. Jingle Bell Rock played from the crappy speakers, and the snowman started to boogie. Paul hit the man with it again and again. "Get out! Get out!" The man recoiled from each blow of the rubber decoration. He snarled and shrieked, backing away through the front door as Paul struck him. At some point, something mechanical cracked inside the snowman. The song came out slurred and slow. Jack Frost danced slower. One arm snapped off, and his head dented inwards. Blood smeared across his white body. Adrenaline surged through Paul's veins, reminding him of how it felt to be a young man. He became aware of his battle cry as he fought the mauled lunatic out of his home. With the noseless man wobbling on the threshold, Paul landed a kick into the guy's gut. "And stay out!" he roared. The man went sprawling backwards over the Reyes' front steps. He clattered into a heap at the foot of their driveway. At the top of the driveway staggered a group of people. 2 men and 4 women. Each had various ghastly wounds, like the noseless assailant. A cheek torn open here, an eye gouged out there. Intestines spilt out of one woman's belly and trailed behind her like a bridal train. Across his small patch of lawn in front of the lounge windows, a woman with one arm shambled towards him. Paul's nerves turned to liquid, and his legs to jelly. He whimpered and felt his bladder threaten to release. He scrambled for the door, missed, found the handle, and slammed it shut. With shaking hands, he slid the chain back across, his fingers slaked with gore. "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus," he whispered to himself. Immediately, the door began to bang again, and so did the windows looking into the lounge. And the screams from the back of the house continued, high-pitched and terrified. Goose flesh rippled up all over Paul's body. These nutcases had surrounded the house. He had no idea what they wanted, but he guessed it wasn't a cup of cocoa. He pushed off from the vibrating door and strode towards the sound of the commotion. He brandished his decoration/weapon. Rose, in the kitchen, some of the attackers had smashed their way through the windows. The glass sliced their forearms to ribbons, but they didn't care. They were trying to pull Rose out by her hair. She shrieked and kicked and batted at the hands to no avail. Several of their guests stood by and watched, their faces drawn in a rictus of shock. They still held their alcoholic beverages. Sean from next door had gone white, and his beer was tipping and spilling on the kitchen tiles. Paul froze. Rose had always argued about getting double glazing, But he'd deferred. He now wished he'd listened to his wife. How long until the front windows, looking out onto the lawn, shattered under the strain? He slapped himself across the face and raced into the fray, swinging Frosty for all his worth. He smacked at the hands that snaked through the glass over and over and over again. "Get off my wife, you damn hooligans." That broke the paralysis spell over the others. The kitchen became a flurry of activity as people dropped drinks and grabbed a hold of Rose. Gail Clark yanked on Rose's feet, pulling her back into the house. In his vest and tie combo, Sean lobbed his pint glass through the window with a violent yell. The claws clutching Rose weakened enough for her to break away. Rosemary collapsed to the floor, sobbing. She held her hands to the blotchy red patches of yanked-out hair. Paul's mind was a flurrying snowstorm of thought. He stood in the kitchen, chest heaving. He stared out at the people gathered in his back garden. "Zombies," he said, not quite believing himself. "They're goddamn zombies." The swaying figures closed in on the house. Bangs and clangs echoed from the front. The dim winter light faded as the bodies blocked out the windows. They moaned in a chorus of the dead, their bloodied hands slapping against the four walls. Someone asked, "What do we do, Paul?" I don't," a woman screeched. "They're coming down the fireplace." An ice shard speared through Paul's core, and the world seemed to slow. "Sweet baby Jesus," he mumbled. An enormous thud shook the foundations of the house. The survivors staggered to the walls for support. Paul shook his head clear. He tightened his grip on Frosty and ran for the lounge. He skidded to a halt as a cloud of coal dust settled across the room, coating the furniture and the tree. The hell? The smog cleared to reveal a massive man in a red and white suit. He kneeled, fists on either side, like the Terminator from that Schwarzenegger flick. A large brown sack slung over his shoulder. He had heavy-duty black boots, and a Santa hat clung to his head. Paul's insides shriveled. He'd fought off the one at the door because they'd been roughly the same size. But this one? No chance. He tried to speak, but found that all the spit had evaporated from his mouth. Only a tiny mouse-like squeak came from his vocal cords. The giant looked up. His eyes sparkled above two rosy cheeks. The orbs looked normal. No cataractic whiteness, narrowing to a black pinprick. A big, thick, white, bushy beard sprouted from his face. Paul dropped the damaged Frosty, which bounced to the laminate wooden floor. His head spun like he'd taken a right hook to the dome. "Santa?" Paul whimpered. Santa smiled, but the smile was fleeting. "Yes, Paul, it is me. Do not be afraid." He glanced at the window, which showed the growing horde pressing against it. But you should be afraid of those naughty boys and girls. Paul's heart hammered high up in his chest, like a hummingbird trapped in his torso. His brain kept rifling through facts and thoughts as if to make sense of it all. His old thinker kept coming up short. It threw its cards in the air and searched through the rubble again. What? He licked his lips. What do we do? Santa grinned and stood up. He was 8 feet tall and towered over Paul and the others. If he were any taller, he wouldn't be able to stand upright in this house. He chuckled a deep, throaty laugh. Ho, ho, ho. It rumbled through the earth like a bear's growl. Santa unslung his sack and upended it onto the living room floor. Machetes, blades, baseball bats, cricket bats, axes and chainsaws, swords and knives, flamethrowers and guns, even a grenade and armor. It looked like police riot gear, except it had the symbol of a snowflake. I have brought you well-behaved children, some toys to play with. Paul regained some of his lost nerve at the sight of the armory. With this elf-like giant on their side, they could turn the tides of battle. He bent down and picked up a chainsaw. Groovy, Santa bowed. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a few 100,000 more homes to equip for the coming siege. Out beyond the front window, a reindeer with a red nose was fighting off zombies with its antlers. It was winning. Paul felt like someone had punched the wind out of him. His eyes darted from Santa to the fireplace. You mean you won't stay? Won't stay and fight? We won't last without you. I am afraid there are others who need me. Santa raised one gloved finger. Remember, Paul, jealousy and greed are very naughty. He gestured to the treasure hoard on the ground. I brought you these because you have all been good. Let us keep it that way. Will you at least tell us why this is happening? Santa narrowed his eyes. When there is no more room in ho-ho hell, the dead will walk the earth. And with that, he vanished back up the chimney in the blink of an eye. In the background, the glass front window started to crack. A lightning bolt fault line zigzagged. Paul revved the chainsaw and beckoned his friends and family. Let's do this. Everyone, arm yourselves. Rose, stay behind me. Put some armor on. Gail picked up a spear and donned a helmet. She pulled up alongside Paul and jabbed at the air between them and the fracturing window. A flurry of movement in the distance showed that Rudolph was still fending off the zombies. Gail screeched. Jesus is the only zombie we allow this time of year. Paul took the lead and strode forward, chainsaw in front like a jouster. Sean drew alongside with a shotgun. He pumped it, and 2 red shells bounced to the Reyes' rug. Sean had a steely look in his eyes that Paul had never seen before. He didn't even know the man could handle a gun. The only thing we should be eating is turkey. The window gave way, and the zombies flooded in. Paul raised the growling chainsaw and went to battle. Rest in peace on Earth. AKA-O. You're awake. Bit sooner than expected, but oh well. Must have got the strength wrong. I'm not exactly experienced with using chloroform. Only tried it twice so far, and once was on myself. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but how else was I supposed to see if it worked? Amazed it did, to be honest. Thought it was just a movie thing, but it gave me the best sleep I've had in years. Kenji, too. Doesn't look like it did much for you. You were only out for about 3 hours. Your eyes look like shit. Crusty and bloodshot. Lucky for you, she won't care. It'll probably excite her more. Maybe it's because you're so fit. I mean, this body of yours is impressive. Is this what you call a six-pack? And what's with the arms? How did they get that big? Wasn't expecting it, to be honest. Couldn't tell in the baggy shirt and pants they make you wear. What's a ripped dude like you doing working for a second-rate pizza shop in the middle of nowhere anyway? Shouldn't you be a model or something? Gonna make me look bad, man, when she gets a load of you. I'm going to have to stick to less impressive specimens, like Kenji, the tourist. Skinny arms, you know, bird-like chest. I didn't feel so bad about my weight compared to him. But bodies like yours give me a complex. Oh, don't worry. I know it's a bit off-putting, waking up naked, tied to a chair in the company of a male. It's fine. I'm completely straight. You don't have to worry or be embarrassed. Not that you ever are, I bet. Why would you be? You're a beast. And I don't want this to sound like sour grapes or anything. But why is your thing so huge? I thought that was also a movie thing. Different kind of movie. But damn. So much for all things being created equal. She'll probably get a kick out of that. Meal, not a snack, right? I'd be worried about it if I thought she was the shallow type. But she's not. This is only the second time we've done this. But I know she doesn't care about stuff like that. And even if she did, what could I do? I'm not doing this because I want to. I have to, because I love her. And if I can't give her what she needs, it's my duty to find someone who can. Gotta keep your girl happy, right? And she really enjoyed herself with Kenji, even if he was a bit weedy. Took her time with him too. It was amazing to watch. I mean, it was sickening too, but I couldn't look away. And as long as she was getting what she needed, I was happy. You should have seen her when she was done. She was glowing and grateful. I'm the one she spent the night with after. It was so good. being in bed with her, feeling her body next to mine, caressing her hair, having sex, made the sacrifice worthwhile, made me want to do it again. And that's where you come in, delivering a pizza to a paddy field farm at the top of Akiota Valley isn't the only useful task you're going to perform today. And what are you looking at? Oh, sorry. Should have put that out of sight. Yeah, it's a ball gag. But don't worry. Like I said, I'm straight. I haven't kidnapped you for some weird sex game. The gag is for her. My girl. Yeah, I know. That sounds kinky. And I suppose it is. But not in the way you think. It's just, there are things I can't give her. Or things I can't get from her. So after she's indulged, after she's finished, unfortunately she has to wear that gag to be with me. But never mind all that. That's personal. I need to get on with the messy part of the proceedings. I want to make sure she enjoys her time with you. So it needs to be just the way she likes it. So you're going to have to forgive me for what comes next. Shit. Look at the time. She'll be up soon, and she's going to be starving. She's a different person when she's hungry. You'll see when you meet her. Not going to lie, it's not a pretty sight. Takes some getting used to. But once she's eaten, well, it's a different story. She's an absolute angel then. Divine. Hey, why are you starting to struggle? Oh, I get it. You're getting the picture. Yeah, Kenji figured it out too. He completely lost it, though. You're much more composed. Testing the ropes, shifting around. Chair is bolted to the floor, in case you can't tell. You can't get out. Now stop. No point trying to shout. Sounds ridiculous through the gag, and nobody's going to hear you. This is my grandmother's house, and it really is in the middle of nowhere. You must have noticed that on your way here, wondering how the fuck you were going to get away with delivering a cold pizza. Town is pretty deserted, right? Total dump. Never thought I'd end up stuck on a farm in the backwoods of Hiroshima. But that's my mother for you. Excels at ruining my life. Though having said that, if she hadn't made me come here to look after Oba-chan, I never would have found my true love. No, there's no point staring at the ceiling either. Dear old Oba-chan isn't going to stick her head through and ask if you'd like a cup of sake. No. For one thing, the stroke robbed her of the ability to get around on her own. And for another, she'd be more likely to snap at you for making noise. Then roll out a list of damn chores. Tidy the kitchen, cut some wood, build a fire, feed the chickens, muck out the pigs, clean the bathroom. Or she'd tell you she needed the bedpan again. Or worse, a cleanup of the passage between her legs. So disgusting. Can't believe I put up with that for 2 months. You're honestly lucky you don't have to listen to it, man. Or smell it. We're both lucky she's not here anymore. So don't waste your time making a fuss. Until Akka gets here, we're alone. Now, I gotta head outside for a bit. Don't hurt yourself trying to escape. Those knots are good. Trust me. I was a scout for years. Not to mention a band geek and shogi player. My mother stuck me in as many after-school clubs as she could, so she didn't have to spend any time with me. You know how it is, right? Have a kid to get away, then the kid gets in the way. Anyway, back in a minute. Sorry about that. Didn't realize how heavy this would be. Filled it up too much, I think. Oh, relax. Your eyeballs look like they're going to pop out of your head. I know how it looks, but this is not for you. Trust me, you're not going to be left to decompose in a rusty metal barrel in a rice field. It's like the sex thing. You've got me all wrong. I'm not a murderous pervert. I'm 17, for fuck's sake. I listen to baby metal and play Fortnite. I'm a nerd, a fat geek with no friends. Well, I used to be. Until I met Akka. Now I have more than a friend. Someone I care about, who appreciates me for who I am, not how I look. I'm sure you don't understand how rare that is. How could you? Mr. Adonis. Okay. Look, I apologize in advance for how this is going to smell, and oh yeah, there we go. Whoa, that's worse than I expected. Maybe I should have left the lid off. Fuck. Thought I was going to throw up for a second there. Okay, gloves on for this. You okay? Look a little green. Probably for the best you have that gag on. Or maybe that's making it worse. I don't know. I'll be quick anyway. It's just a big vat of pig shit, chicken shit, and basic sludge from the rice fields. Filth, right? I'm sorry, but when we talk about kinks, I guess this is the biggie. For Akka, I mean. Not me. Hell no. I'm not into this shit. Pardon the pun. Really does it for her, though. She loves it. She needs it. And like I said, I can't give it to her. Not like this. Not with added sweat and bodily excretions. And yeah, sorry about that also. But you're going to be excreting a lot. Don't worry. I've seen it all before. It's fine. AKA we'll clean it up. And honestly, once she's on top of you, you're not going to care what comes out. This is really disgusting. I apologize. I'm just going to keep dumping it on, not going to rub it in anywhere. Didn't have to do this with Oba-chan or Kenji. Oba-chan supplied her own filth. The filth I left her lying in for days. Just couldn't bring myself to clean her anymore. And I was busy getting to know Akka, so, you know. And Kenji got filthy in the fields. Spotted him out there, taking photos of our resident ibis. Hadn't really started looking for anyone at that stage. But when I saw him there, all on his own, I just decided to give it a go. Soaked a rag in chloroform and went out to be friendly. Not sure what tipped him off, something was up, but he saw it coming before it hit his face, and he made a run for it. Didn't get far. Fields are too marshy to run in. Went down hard and got covered in muck. So that was enough. No additional basting needed. Ha, sorry. I know it's not funny. I know this smells and feels awful. But I think I'm done. Now I just need to run a trail of it from you to the bathroom. It's almost 9. She'll be waking up in there now, making her way out of the tub. I feel like I should explain. I didn't with Kenji, and he almost ripped his arms to get free when Akka came out. I had to hold him still until she got going. Would rather not have to do that with you. So maybe if I prepare you, that will help. Was fine with Obachan. Apart from her lack of mobility, she knew all about Akka. It wasn't a surprise to her at all. Of course she knew her. She's the one who kept her locked in the bathroom all these years. She deserved what she got. My mother deserves it too. She knew. She helped. And then lying to me about what I saw that first time I met her. Telling me it was my imagination, and I didn't really see an emaciated, corpse-like girl thrashing around on the wet room floor, licking up grime. I was only 7, but I could have helped. I could have done something, maybe gotten her out. But my mother didn't bring me back after that. Didn't want to ever come back at all. But then Obachan had her stroke, and she had no choice. Well, she did. She had me. Fuck my mother, man, you know. Dropping me off to look after the old bitch, ruining my summer. She said I had to do it because she couldn't get out of her work trip to France. Potential new client, big project, huge for the company, the usual bullshit. I thought it was because she didn't want to have to take care of the old bat, because she hated her or was afraid of her. I never knew which. Now I know it had more to do with Akka. She didn't want to deal with her either, which makes her more of a selfish bitch than I ever thought. I don't even know if she's coming back. Haven't heard from her since she left. Barely hung around more than an hour. Just long enough to make sure I knew where everything was. And to remind me how to clean the fucking bathroom. I really didn't get it. What the big deal was with that. Constantly hosing it down and scrubbing the walls. But I remembered it was the same when I was a kid. Remembered that summer when I was home alone and I went to play in the fields, got covered in mud, and traipsed it back, made a complete mess, left the bathroom covered in dirt, left it in a state that lured her out. I didn't see her getting out on that occasion, just heard a noise in the bathroom later when I went to the toilet, opened the connecting door to check it out, and there she was, flailing around on the floor, licking up the dirt I'd left behind. I can't tell you if I was scared or not, because I don't remember. I don't think I was. And she didn't hurt me. She just kept licking. And I kept watching, rooted to the spot in the open door, until Oba-chan and my mother came home. My mother dragged me away. Oba-chan grabbed a mop and charged into the wet room. I don't know what happened that night. I let my mother convince me I had a fever and was hallucinating. Let her convince me I never saw Akka. But I did. And I hate that I let myself be tricked. If somebody had taken care of her, maybe she wouldn't have ended up so full of hate, in such bad condition. How could you blame her, trapped beneath a bathtub for decades, or longer? Who knows how long she's been there? Ever since Oba-chan inherited this place anyway, in the 60s, long after the war. And yes, the land was still radioactive, but the bomb didn't make Akka. She existed before that, long before. She doesn't talk, and she can't tell me exactly, but I know from my research she's immortal. All yokai are. They just get forgotten, shut away, alone, lost in limbo, until something explosive rips the veil between worlds and sets them free, free to be kept prisoner somewhere else. But I'm changing that. Ever since I found out she was real, when I stopped cleaning the stupid bathroom for hours every day, like that bitch demanded, scrub the bathtub, hose the walls, mop the floor. That's how they kept her imprisoned. And a couple of days after I stopped doing it, she got out. It was like all those years ago. Went for a piss one night. Heard something moving in there. This time, it didn't surprise me at all. It just made me sad. AKA loves filth. It's what she thrives on. Cleanliness is kryptonite to her. Hygienic conditions, sanitized surfaces. She can't breathe in an environment like that. It isn't fair. You know what else isn't fair? Her full name. Akaname, they call her. Filth liquor. Can you believe it? The indignity. Naming her that just because of her nature? It's like people calling me hideous when my name's Hideo. I don't know why Oba-chan decided to keep her a prisoner. If she'd just taken time to get to know how she works. So what if she bubbles up like sludge from the plug hole? So what if she needs to digest dirt to take form? So what if her saliva is acidic? Let her lick all the dirt she wants, then hose the residue down. it makes her better. Her body. The more filth she consumes, the better it gets. Fully formed. Beautiful. I've seen it now, twice. After she licked Obachan clean, and Kenji licked away their dirt, their skin, their organs, licked everything up, then swallowed their gore-covered bones. It's amazing what she can do. Doesn't leave a trace. For someone who loves filth, she knows how to leave things spotless. And as long as you stay away from her mouth, you can do anything you want with her, all night, until the Sra comes up and she melts and goes back down the pipe. Can you hear her in there? Sounds like something wet and sloppy thrashing around. But it's like I said, she's a bit of a mess at the start. A pile of mush, you could say. But just wait. Wait till she licks all this shit off the floor. You'll see her body grow, and by the time she gets to you, she'll look half human. Those eyes, that hair, those breasts, that long, sinuous, acid-dripping tongue. It'll hurt at first, I won't lie. And seeing your foot dissolve in her mouth will drive you crazy. But the pain won't last. I saw it with Obachan and Kenji. By the time she devoured one leg and looked like a fully formed girl, they didn't even feel it anymore. Her beauty takes away the pain, and she is beautiful for a time after she's eaten. The most beautiful girl in the world. But you'll have to take my word for that. You'll never see it. She'll make you feel like the most important person in existence, but you're not. I'm the one who feeds her. I'm the one who loves her. I'm the one who holds her through the night, after she's feasted on filth like you and Obachan and Kenji and my mother. If she ever comes back, she'll get hers for leaving my Akka to suffer. Akka's my girl, and she's never going to be alone again. Now, I think she can come out. Are you ready to meet her? Here we go, then. Oh, yes, there she is. There's my girl. Can you see? Even like this. Isn't she lovely? Hello, my beautiful Akka. Dinner is served. Cabin fever. Then the storm broke and was replaced the next morning with a frozen 1880s blue sky. The kind when after the clouds clear, the world shuts down with a blinding but heartless sun. No wind and dead quiet. Jason and Bill huddled around the cabin's only wood burner. Above them, the pine timbers groaned and complained with the weight of the storm's snow, over 20 feet on the roof. But what dropped their stomach into a mine shaft was the sharp crack about every 10 minutes. A sound like a double barrel going off in the rafters. The cold clenched down on the roof beams. The cabin held in a merciless, ice-cold fist. It was not unknown for a collapsed cabin to be found in the spring, the dead still frozen under the rubble, a beast with a blood-froze beard. Bill mumbled out loud to himself, feeding logs to the wood burner. He'd almost lost Jason the night before. The storm outside had been ghost white and howling a blow. He had worried Jason would lose the rope he'd strung to the outhouse, 60 feet from the cabin. He knew from experience men lose their way, only to be found in the spring thaw. So when Jason had slammed the pine door and come back in, shaking and terrified, saying he barely made it back, and talking about his lungs seared out from the cold, he had sighed in relief. But when he'd calmed down later, Jason said, "There's something out there, Bill. I could feel it looking at me. I swear I saw eyes in the dark, red eyes, and a growl. Provisions were low, so for supper, the only meal that day, Bill dished out steaming black beans, only a sourdough biscuit on the side. Bill, chicken. Bill, they called him, liked to talk when he was serving food, and fancied himself a philosopher, a cowboy philosopher, although his ranching days were well over. He was 50, which is old in the mountains, but a lot about Bill was still adventurous with his red kerchief, leather chaps he wore like skin, and his Stetson, which he rarely took off. As he dished out the food, he declared, "The Shoshone have 100 words for snow, Jason. Snow that grows out of the ground. A hoary frost sparkling with tiny ice fingers reaching for the sun. Snow that forms a crust when the top melts some and then freezes back up, which might break your leg in a post hole. And snow that lives in the worst cold and wraps itself in the body of a wolf and steals your soul. Like now. Bill, it's 60 below, and I don't feel much like talking about the cold." "I understand, son," Bill said, and took Jason's empty tin plate away. Later that night, Bill sat by the burner, the flame reflected on his weathered face, high cheekbones, and full lips. A handsome man, his wife had said. He stroked the scar from the edge of his eye to the back of his chin. A scuffle with Texas rough Civil War vets in '72, calling him half-breed in the street. But I know this cold is different, he thought. It's tougher with Jason. The fire held his eyes on the yellow-blue flame for a long while, the wood humming and spitting, the smoke smelling of pine sap. "Did you swear you wouldn't take on caring about another?" he asked himself. "Did you?" "Yes. After the sickness, I did. And now you're caring about this, Jason. And that's why you're scared? You're getting hot." Bill kept feeding the fire, but couldn't help thinking about death. For him, a white wolf in his dreams, with a blooded snout, a red-eyed beast scratching to get in. The next morning, the Olson party beat on the door. Finding the cabin must have taken some luck. Dick Olson, his wife Martha, their daughter Susan, and their young boy, Joey. They filled the cabin once inside. Mr. Olson was near done. Living with his feet black from the frostbite, he could still hobble, but Bill had him put 1 foot in cold water. It began bleeding, and he wrapped it up. Jason asked Bill about the feet in the kitchen, and Bill talked low, so the party wouldn't hear. You can tell from his sagging eyes the West has whipped him, Jason. If you notice, his eyeballs are skittering like a mare beat too much. Once broke like that, too broke, a horse won't come back to anything worth working. Mr. Olson has the no blinks, and I've seen it in the mines. You best stay clear when you run up on a man like that. Next thing you know, you'll be staring too far away yourself. Their daughter, Susan, did not have the no blinks, Jason thought. Just with a sneak peek, he could see she was the most beautiful creature he'd ever put eyes on. Once she unwrapped from the weather, her long hair alone shone like some kind of goddess, he guessed. The blonde let loose, soft and shimmering. She made him think of a gazelle he saw once up in the high country. It stood with its white belly and golden hide, then ran off as light as air. The god's creature moved like grace itself, but Susan, just sitting there, was better. No, sir. You cannot chance more than a sneak peek when you run into a sight like that. He kept his eyes on the burner and was glad when the Olson party carved out a private area off to the side, blankets making a wall of sorts. Bill made some supper for all 6, including himself. The last of the salt ham, hardtack, and black beans. Everyone silent around the pine table. Bill didn't talk much around strangers at first. Some said likely due to him being a half-Bannock Indian. But once the diners settled in, the boy Joey couldn't get enough and threw questions at Bill like a scattergun. How long you been up here? Why do they call you Chicken Bill? And where'd you get that scar on your cheek? Bill gave short answers, but his eyes smiled, talking to the boy. He explained the Galena cabin was the way station for the Stanley to Ketchum route, an overnight midpoint on the 60-mile run. Jason was a postal officer and would ski the 60 miles on 8-foot board skis, the trail too narrow for a wagon and too steep for a horse. Jason listened in, but also knew Bill had lost both his wife and son to cholera and sparked up around children. The boy asked, "Why don't you wear a gun?" Bill said, "I'm done with guns, young man. Guns mostly don't ever work out like you expect." Joey's eyes grew into silver dollars. "Did you ever kill anybody?" The table went quiet, and Bill said, "Excuse me. Jason and I have to clean up. Come on, Jason." As he rose, his eyes were glistening, and Jason remembered Bill didn't like to talk about guns and killing. Bill and Jason were in the kitchen when Mr. Olson came limping in. He was dodging around like he had something to say, but couldn't. Finally, he said, "Joe's mother feels..." "Well, don't talk to our son," she says. Bill said, "Sure, no problem." He took a deep breath and let it out. "You'll always be an outsider, looked at as an outcast by your own people, a savage Indian by the other." Jason felt bad for Bill, but the truth was, he thought there was nothing he could do about it anyway. The next day, the Dawson brothers pounded on the door. After coming in, they spread out like it was natural to position themselves for a gunfight. The one in the middle was Cliff, the oldest brother. He scanned the room, his eyes not missing a thing, running over Jason and Bill like bacon, greasy fingers, assessing if they were a threat. He then stopped on Mrs. Olson. "You get lost out of Pocatello? Standing me up in Ketchum seem right to you?" Slumped down at the table like a man giving up, Mr. Olson stared at his foot wrapped in the bloody rag. He glanced at his wife, but she saddled up to Cliff, put her face close to his, and with a sweet voice Jason hadn't heard before, brushed her lips up against his right ear. "I'd come back for you, Cliff. You know that." Cliff shoved her off rough and put his head back and laughed. A mean sound, more coyote bark than laugh. He said, "I guess I know when I been had, you viper." He nodded to Mr. Olson at the table. "Sorry, Dick. You can have her back now." Mrs. Olson shot a look at her husband. He was slumped at the table, his hands shaking while covering his face, his elbows on the yellow pine planks. The smaller brother came out from behind the blankets. He threw a black carpet bag down on the floor. Cliff kneeled and opened it up. The bag was full of money, bundles of cash. Mr. Olson looked up. His eyes misted, yellow-red. "Our future Martha. You wanted Oregon. There it lies. You didn't count on the snow." And looking at his feet, much less this damn freeze. Grabbing the bloody rag off his dead foot, he threw it at his wife, which she knocked away just before it hit her face. Mrs. Olson hesitated, then lunged toward her husband, her eyes harsh, her face tight. With a harsh whisper, she spit each word like venom. "Yes, the storm and the damn freeze, you fool. You're an old fool, the worst kind. You know that? You only see what you want." Mr. Olson glared back at her, but she stared him down. Cliff packed up the bag and threw it to the third brother near the window, then turned to Mrs. Olson. He pointed his gloved finger at her and narrowed his eyes, laughing through his sneer. "It's true. He don't see you, Martha, but I do." And then he cocked his face at Mr. Olson like he remembered something. But being Indian agent at Pocatello has its advantages for you and Martha, don't it, Dick? I guess the tribes will miss it none, not knowing it was theirs to begin with. Mr. Olson reared up at the table, wincing when he stood on his bare black foot. His face twisted up like being covered with fire. He stumbled out a derringer from his inside vest pocket and aimed it at Cliff. But Cliff was fast, quick with his gun. In the tight cabin, the shot rang out like the screaming wrath of God. Mr. Olson, thrown near off both feet, his back smacking hard against the pine wall, with his chest a bloody hole, he slid to the floor, and his boy Joey ran to the body, and Susan held her brother, the son, daughter, and dead man lying together. The Dawson men soon grouped everyone to the side of the cabin, while one brother held a gun. They searched for weapons and collected both the derringer and a shotgun found in the kitchen. The smaller brother filled a sack with the remaining food. Mrs. Olson grabbed Cliff's arm, holding him from turning away, and said, "Please forgive me, baby." Cliff threw her off and laughed, shoving her toward the table. Leaning into the table, Mrs. Olson stayed dead still as she stared at the wall. Cliff, behind her, spoke firm, like he wanted the pain to sink in. "You ain't worth much, hardly worth feeding Martha, but I'll be taking you, the boy, and especially Susan, up north to the renegades. They'll make use of you in the camps, but your daughter and boy Martha, they'll bring prime dollar." Mrs. Olson's hands gripped white on the table. The other two brothers drew their guns after hearing Cliff. In a short time, Jason and Bill stood at the cabin door, while mounted up in front of them in the bright sun and the dry pine air were the three brothers, but also Mrs. Olson, the boy Joey, and Susan on the last remaining horses, all tied to saddle horns. The Dawson brothers turned and broke trail, the snow pushing up above the horses' bellies, the hooves rising high to punch through the clean white, the pine hanging heavy with fresh snow. They were soon out of sight. Without a word, Bill pushed through the deep snow to the shed. He dragged the door open, hitting it with his shoulder, finally making his way in. After the sound of rummaging, he came out. Strapped on his side was a Colt .45 rig, low on his hip, outlaw style. He said, "I got the weapon, but not the means. We need a horse, Jason." The shed door was still open, and Jason stuck his head in. "You're right, we don't have a horse. I've got an idea, though, for something else." Jason and Bill took 2 pairs of board skis and pushed through the snow 100 yards to the top of Galena Ridge. The near cliff fell off the side of the mountain. If they could ski it, and Jason couldn't guess how, but if they could, they'd cut off the Dawsons 2 miles away, where they came out the bottom of the switchbacks. They had to take the chance. Jason strapped both himself and Bill into the skis where they needed to drop off. Bill stared off the edge, wide-eyed. He grabbed Jason's arm, nervous as all get out. Jason had never seen him panicked like that, gaping over the edge like a little boy. He choked it out. "I need to tell you. I could had your postman job, Jason, but it required me to ski. Turned it down, and hell. That's why they started calling me Chicken Bill." Jason laughed to look at him. "Hell yourself, Bill. No chicken about it. It ain't nothing," he lied. "Let's go." They pushed off. The skis fell through air, and Jason sidestepped to turn as he hit the bank. The snow flowed like a heaven's mist over their heads, Jason's skis swooping back and forth. A fine curve on the fresh snow, the cold flakes stinging his face. They weren't skiing, but flying. Bill just closed his eyes and took a straight shot. Together, they leveled out on the basin. The riders slowly came out of the trees. The horses were struggling to lift their hooves in the deep snow, tired and pushed too hard. The younger brother was the first to notice Bill standing 50 yards ahead. Jason could tell Cliff, then saw Bill also, and was moving in position, turning side saddle so he could draw. As Cliff angled, Bill crouched in the snow. And when the two brothers pulled their sidearms, Bill drew in response, his gun light in his hand, like he was flicking his finger. He knocked the two younger brothers off their horses like nothing, ducks in a chute. Bill then took aim at Cliff with both hands, holding the revolver for the distance, but stopped. Mrs. Olson's horse crossed the path. The more Bill moved to get an aim, the more Mrs. Olson got in the way. "Shoot, damn it. Just shoot." Bill blew air, exasperated. He raised his gun straight up and fired into the sky. This was the break Cliff was looking for. He leaned out, drew on Bill, and took him down with a blast of 3 shots. Cliff could shoot. Bill fell in front of Jason in the cold. As death approached, Bill didn't feel scared, but settled. A peace came over him. "But you're leaving Jason," he thought. "You need to tell him before you go." Leaning close, Jason said, "What, Bill? What is it?" He knew Bill was dying. "You can do it, Jason. You're a far better man than you think, son." Bill then closed his eyes. A warmth moved over Jason that he couldn't explain. He suddenly realized Bill was the closest thing to a father he'd ever had, and it was right then. Jason knew he was done with. Can't do anything about it anyway. And it was right then he was done with the holding back, and he had to try. Feeling the heavy weight of the cold steel Colt in his hand, he stood up slowly and held the weapon down by his side. Cliff flanked him, staying side-saddled, with a broad grin on his face in the bright cold. moving to get the sun behind him. "Give it a try, boy," he said, and holstered his weapon. "When you're ready." And he angled his horse as he moved, his hand hovering on the gun handle. Jason lifted his arm, and Cliff's gun exploded in his hand. Jason never saw him draw. He was so fast. The slug hit him in the shoulder and threw Jason's aim. He fell to the ground, and Cliff was soon above him, dismounted and kicking the colt away. Jason looked down Cliff's gun barrel and felt his chest pounding. He knew the bullet was coming, and his only thought was hoping it didn't hurt. A quick ending, a snarling cut the cold air before Jason saw a white-shaped animal leap for Cliff, who fought the snapping jaws while he writhed on the snow, holding the white, wolf-like thing off his face. Cliff then screamed in terror. The animal slashed at him and dug in, ripping his throat out, then stuck its snout into the wound. Jason turned away, thinking he was next, but soon caught sight of the wolf flashing in the trees. An albino, pure white. He lost sight of the animal in the green pine, the needles covered in ice, crystals on the trees. Vice. News Real Talk. The art of soul swapping. New research proposes a radical solution for the estimated 13 million people who unwittingly lost their souls in last year's Black Friday mishap. While hell isn't offering refunds anytime soon, a soul swap isn't out of the question, says Sam Ackerman, sole author on the study and CEO of Exosouls. His paper, titled Devilish Details, a sparse Bayesian learning framework for enhancing the Exosouls algorithm, is published this week in Chaos, a non-linear journal of translational science. In it, Ackerman claims to have unraveled the 2-for-1 soul swap terms and conditions of the Philadelphia Screamer. He then introduces a machine learning model designed to identify likely victims who have yet to come forward, as well as predict the likelihood of unsold souls going to hell anyway. Ackerman goes on to suggest that when combined with his proprietary Exosouls algorithm, this novel framework can accurately pair last year's Black Friday victims with unsold hellbound souls, a finding that could give hope to millions. Vice's own Brett Love spoke with Ackerman while putting his updated soul swap theory to the test in real time. This interview has not been edited for clarity or length because hard-hitting journalism has no filters. Q&A with Brett Love and Sam Ackerman. Brett Love. So, how about you tell me why I'm stuck in Philadelphia traffic with a conch shell in my front seat? Sam Ackerman. Great. Right to the point. So, that conch shell is there to help you hear the screams of the damned. Cupping your hands to your ears is also an option, but that's more prone to error. I don't know if I like the sound of that. No one does. Now, as for the Philadelphia traffic, we need a bit more context for that one. You remember last year when the real Burning Man, who screams eternal, or simply the Philadelphia Screamer. Most people just call him Phil now. Sure, let's call him Phil. Anyway, after Phil showed up last year, screaming and burning and chained to the William Penn statue atop Philadelphia's City Hall with that Black Friday offer flaming across his torso, people were understandably curious. So, of course, someone flies a drone up there to get a closer look at this giant chained to the Will Penn statue. And forgive me for the recap, but let's not forget how incredible that moment was and still is today. I mean, he's bound there, like Prometheus, except instead of eagles tearing out his liver only for it to regrow, there's a flaming message that burns to life again and again, letter by letter, from neck to navel. It's Hell's version of a flashing neon sign, and it says, "Two souls take the place of one in Black Friday's shadow. Make your wish known, and they shall pay the price." Right. And who can blame people for thinking it's your classic 2-for-1 Black Friday deal? Exactly. Last year's tragic miscalculation really just came down to otherwise honest folk simply hoping to cheat Satan on one day of the year with no consequences whatsoever. They thought they could make their wildest wish come true while sacrificing the souls of two of their worst enemies. When you think about it, the choice of holiday makes perfect sense too. Halloween is too on the nose, and Christmas is off limits. But Thanksgiving is, well, it's a gobbledygook of whitewashed genocide and glorified capitalism. So why wouldn't Satan want to piggyback on that? Just look, and you'll find him in the eyes of crazed consumers everywhere, in that Black Friday aftermath of filth left behind by the world's worst holiday. Wow. You really hate Thanksgiving. What about cranberry sauce? You'll cut out that last part, right? I don't want to turn off potential Exosouls clients, sure. But you still haven't told me why I'm stuck in Philly traffic this Black Friday. Oh, right. So we already covered Phil, and the rest comes down to word origin. Before Black Friday found its way into the common parlance, it was used by Philadelphia traffic cops who were fed up with the crowds after Thanksgiving. This was back in the 1960s, so it all comes down to a simple misunderstanding. And hell probably wasn't trying to be nefarious here. I mean, they sent their screaming giant to Philadelphia, after all. They just thought that's where Black Friday applied. So they thought it was still 1960-something, even though Phil arrived in 2022. You're talking about relativity and time dilation, right? Yes. No. Not really. Listen, the theory of special relativity is a wonderful lens for examining the wonders of the universe, but it likely holds no meaning in hell. Perhaps whoever sent Phil is forced to experience a distorted sense of time passing on Earth to further highlight their own eternity in hell. A form of time torture, if you will. But that's just speculation, something that future research could explore. Regardless, my current research strongly suggests that Hell's Black Friday deal only applies to Philadelphia traffic. What do you mean by suggests? I mean, I'm about to test your soul swap theory here, so you're sure, right? Please don't call it swap. I never mention that term once in my paper, and I don't know why the media keeps throwing it out there. This isn't the movie Freaky Friday. We're not switching souls or bodies or anything like that. Say exchange if you must, but it's in the company name, Exo Souls, with exo meaning external and souls meaning plural. It's a simple 2-for-1 exchange, and at no point do you swap souls with anyone else. Now, do you have the Exo Souls app installed on your phone, Brett? Yeah, but I'm asking if you're sure your soul swap. Is your theory correct? Listen, there are 1,000 different researchers giving 1,000 different reasons for last year's Black Friday mishap. They blame it on wildly irresponsible statistics, poor reading skills, TikTok trends, rising obesity rates, or excess levels of tryptophan. But not one has demonstrated as high a degree of correlation as I have. I'm sure you've already read the paper, but let me offer a quick recap for those who haven't. We know for a fact that people who have turned their souls see themselves with their eyes sewn shut every time they look in a mirror, while most hellbound people don't advertise that about themselves. We also know that there was a spike in self-reported eyes sewn shut sightings last year, likely due to outrage over misinterpreting Hell's Black Friday offer. Now, I used those reports as a starting point for constructing my sparse Bayesian learning framework while accounting for normal levels of dishonesty. In addition to identifying unreported victims, my model also identifies those with unsold souls who have high hellbound risk. However, the truly surprising finding comes when looking at the distribution of likely victims. It's a fairly regular distribution. That is, it's standard for places other than the city of brotherly love. More specifically, for places devoid of Philly traffic. What I'm saying is high-traffic Philadelphia areas are almost blank spots on that distribution map of likely victims from last year's Black Friday mishap. That's where people were able to take advantage of Hell's 2-for-1 offer, because that's the area that corresponds to Hell's definition of Black Friday. It's an incredibly strong correlation, and that's why you're stuck in Philly traffic this Black Friday, Brett. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think so. Maybe you could give a quick refresher on correlation versus causation. No, we don't want to risk traffic clearing up on us. Just Google ice cream drowning deaths after the interview. So, without further ado, could you please open the ExoSouls app, Brett? First, I've got to ask, why are we doing this over the phone? Why wouldn't you agree to a face-to-face interview? Selling one's soul can't be done in company. If you open the app, I'll guide you through it. Okay, app is open. Hey, nice interface. Kind of like Twitter, with less hate speech. And I just looked in the rear view mirror. I can say with relief that the eyes of my reflection aren't sewn shut. Well, we haven't done anything yet. To verify, can you tell me how many active users you see in the ExoSouls app? I see 437. Now it's 443. Hang on. Shouldn't the numbers be doubling with the 2-for-1 soul swap? Good. I see those same numbers. And remember, it's not a swap. The numbers aren't doubling for a couple reasons. First, not everyone is selling their souls simultaneously. Second, a number of users regain their souls with each transaction. Obviously, the total number of souls sold must increase over time, which is great for ExoSouls in terms of active users. But wait, you said some users regain their souls? Could you explain? You know it's reversible, right? It's in my chaos paper. I even mention it in the abstract. Sure, yeah, I know. But it may be worth explaining for the sake of the interview. Okay, traffic is looking steady, so I'll give a quick example. Hell's Black Friday 2-for-1 offer requires 3 souls. 1 soul to take advantage of the offer, and 2 more souls to pay the price. So, let's call the souls A, B, and C, and say they're all stuck in Philadelphia traffic. Imagine that A makes its soul-selling wish, which marks souls B and C as bound for hell when their time on Earth is done. Now, say B, whose soul has already been sold, still wants to take advantage of the 2-for-1 offer. Hell owns B, but Hell doesn't care about individuals. Hell's goal is to simply gather as many souls as possible, so it would gladly trade B for 2 unclaimed souls. Soul A is still unclaimed, but we need another unclaimed soul to make B's transaction possible. That's where Soul D comes in. If Souls A and D reach out to Hell and offer their souls in place of B's, Hell can't refuse. Sure, it loses a soul, but it also gains 2. And Hell must grant B a wish for the 2-to-1 offer to still hold true. Within this scenario, the first wish led to 2 hell-bound souls, while the second wish results in a total of 3 hell-bound souls within the group. You can see that the number didn't double in this instance. Of course, that number could easily keep doubling if everyone keeps making the selfish decision. But that's the beauty of the ExoSouls app. Its algorithm was already working to balance mutual and self-interests. But this latest enhancement connects Black Friday victims with likely hellbound to boost cooperation and user engagement. Does that answer your reversibility question, Brett? Yeah, and then some. But I mean that in a good way. You have me convinced. How do I get started? Let's see. The algorithm wants you to sell your soul in the traditional way first. That means no taking advantage of the 2-for-1 offer just yet. After that, exosouls will pair you with 2 unclaimed souls, so you can regain your soul. Wow, I hesitate to use the word luck, but this is a rare instance in my experience. At the risk of sounding redundant, I'd even go so far as to say ultra rare. Brett, you get to make 2 incredible, near back-to-back wishes and still keep your soul this Black Friday. Oh man, I haven't thought about what I want. What do I click to make it happen? Haha, you don't click anything. Exosouls points you to the best possible outcome. But this next part is low-tech, a tried-and-true method as old as mankind itself. First, what you want to do is pick up that conch shell from the passenger seat and hold it to your ear. Then, I want you to listen for the screams of the damned. Okay? I've got you on speakerphone and the conch shell to my ear. Do you hear the screams yet, Brett? Maybe. But that could just be Phil on top of City Hall. I think he's nearby. Forget about Phil. Think about the worst moment of your life. Relive it. Imagine that conch shell is a calcified ear that can hear your innermost thoughts. Whoa, I hear it. Jesus Christ. Keep that shell to you ear, Brett. Now tell me, how does traffic look? Oh God. Focus, Brett. How's traffic? Okay. It's nearly at a standstill. Good. Now, I want you to close your eyes nearly all the way until you're looking through your eyelashes. Then, stare at your reflection in the rear-view mirror. Are you doing it? Yes. But I don't like this anymore. Don't stop. You're nearly there. Promise your soul for your heart's desire. I don't know what I want. Just wish for the first thing on your mind. There are no wrong answers here, Brett. If it's in hell's power to grant it, you'll get your wish. Oh man, I did it. The shell is silent and... oh God, that's awful. What do you see? I see my own eyes sewn shut in the mirror. How is that possible? Yeah, no one ever gets used to it. But the good news is I'm working on augmented reality glasses to add eyes to mirrors for those who've sold their souls. And the even better news is you've managed to successfully sell your soul. Now, exosouls should find a pair of unclaimed souls for you soon here. We're up to 643 active users, so maybe some are right next to you in traffic. while we wait? And if you don't mind me asking, what was your wish? Well, it's kind of silly, but it was the first thing that came to mind. I wished for the traffic to clear up, and it's already moving at normal speed. Amazing. Although I guess I kind of wasted my first wish. You did a lot more than that. Do you somehow not understand words? For Christ's sake, you asked me twice why you were stuck in Philadelphia traffic. Shit. Can we try again next year? Well, what other option does everyone else have? Except for you, Brett. Sorry, but the ExoSoul's algorithm has banned you from the app. Good luck and goodbye. Doppel by Sean Glenn. Douglas Packard. Why is it that when we stare into terror, we often stare into our own eyes? I think it's the way we're wired. It's our thoughts. We have access to them, but nobody else. And just as it is impossible for foreign hands to unscrew our craniums and peer inside, so too do the minds of others remain unknowable to us. We're alarmed at minds different from our own. We fear those that could be similar, because we don't have to imagine. We know the demons that surge even through normal brains, bat wings, and saber fangs next to the little voice that says, we should give Grandma a call, and then rake the leaves. There's a man in the upper right-hand corner of the mirror. His eyes are my own. Doom. It shudders through me. But how could that be? Russet leaves swirl down from above. They dance in the copper mid-autumn light. It's Saturday at the farmer's market. Children dashing gleefully through cool grass. Fathers in pursuit. Toddlers clamoring at their mothers for another bite of sugary muffin. Cream cheese frosting from the last one, dolloped on the tip of their nose. Peruvian coffee and cheddar frittatas in the air. Fall bounty everywhere. Squash and sweet potatoes and kale, carrots, beets, and pumpkins. So why does it feel like eternity on the chopping block? And where did my doppel go? He was just there, with me in the mirror. But now he's gone, like a shadow that's changed in the sun. Like a memory I'm not sure is real. I put the sunglasses back on the rack. Knick-knacky things to pick up and try on, but never to buy. The woman behind the booth sighs. More DNA on her merchandise. No money in her pocket. He's stopped to order a London fog. He tips big, rolls a $10 bill into a thin pipe before sliding it into the glass jar while the barista works. There are brownie sample bites next to the register, and he tries one. A young mom clips the heel of his boot accidentally with her stroller and apologizes profusely. Silver smile. It's no problem at all, he assures her. And what's her name? He asks, pointing to the interior of the carriage. Katie, she says, and blushes a little too red for her husband's liking. They hurry off, but she glances back, and that will certainly become an argument in the car. Thank you, darling. He collects the drink from the countertop and sips. He stuffs a folded-up napkin in his back pocket and heads for the parking lot, a leather bag the color of tobacco in his left hand. He's got on a tanned wax canvas jacket and denim trousers, black boots, buffed, something nice to preen in, and a hat, beaver pelt, or rabbit fur, I'm not sure. A modern cowboy that is the doppel of me. Then something surprising happens. My feet begin to move towards the parking lot after my doppel. For what? No reason I can grasp, nothing logical that would not fall outside the purview of lunacy. Who can justify following anyone without their knowing? That's stalking, and stalking, by its nature, belongs to the realm of the unwell, or the paranoid, or psychotic. But who could possibly come across their twin and let them go as easily as a penny on the pavement? Nobody. I know, because my doppel is in front of me, and my feet are moving, and there is nothing I can do to stop them. My conscience is shrieking. Stop. Right now. Stop. Before it's too late. It's already too late. I can't stop. He pops the door of a black Chrysler wagon. He tosses the leather bag into the back seat and gets in. The engine roars to life, and he peels out of the lot. The sun glints in his driver's side mirror as he goes. I jog to my Forester and jam the key in the door. I jump in and fumble with the stick shift, spilling the stale coffee parked in the middle console cup holder. It joins the existing sludge, coffee and tea, and melted candies oozed from the wrappers that have fused the loose change into a single chunk. I roll the window down and turn the engine on. I rip out of the lot and discard the coffee that remains. He's a slick maneuver. In and out of traffic he weaves. Controlled, measured. Me after him, choppy and jagged, nearly clipping a sedan, barreling back into the same lane to avoid an F-150 blaring its horn. Possessed. A haunting tune on the radio, one I've never heard. Early this morning, when you knocked on my door, and I said, "Hello, Satan. I believe it is time to go." The Chrysler whips through the intersection. He flies under the traffic light, and it ticks yellow. My hands tighten on the wheel, knuckles whitened to chalk, my foot lead, pulverizing the accelerator. Me and the devil, walking side by side. Me and the devil, walking side by side. Who am I chasing? Him. Who is he? Me. Not me. He looks like me, but he is not me. And I am me, and I'm chasing him. My thoughts are whipping. Why can't I let him go? The sun has dipped below the hill. A chill creeps across the windshield. Darkness thickens. I give the man more distance in these residential blocks, so he remains unaware of me. His speed slows, and he crawls along a few more yards before halting entirely. The interior lights extinguish. I kill my engine at the stop sign a block away, scared to venture too close. A few minutes pass. Then the driver's side door opens, and he emerges. He gathers the leather bag and heads into the house, a bungalow with a converted attic that peeks out from a window above the entrance. When I was 7 years old, I saw a boy beaten so bad he had to be induced into a coma. My mother let me walk home from school as long as I called her at work, exactly at 3:30, to let her know I was home. Walking a few blocks in your own neighborhood wasn't considered negligence back then. There was an alleyway hidden from the road that abutted an abandoned property and an empty lot overgrown with weeds. My mother told me to avoid it, but I was a kid and it was faster. So what was the harm? 4 boys encircled him, shoving him back and forth like a rag doll. They were older than me, maybe 13 or 14. The boy being terrorized was half their size and already roughed up quite a bit. He had a gash in his lip and a dark spot on his cheek that would certainly be a bruise tomorrow. A rip in his arm sleeve. They pushed and taunted, slapped and cackled. I hid behind the dumpster and cowered, unable to help, scared to retreat since they might see me. What happened next is seared into the unforgettable part of my brain. The chief Neanderthal raised a rock over his head. A rock, not a stone. Something the size of a softball. He laughed as he brought it down on the back of the boy's skull. A sickening thud. The boy crumpled in a cloud of dirt. He didn't move. "What the fuck was that, you idiot?" The Neanderthal's friend raved and hit him in the chest. "You killed him!" The ogre reduced to a minnow. "I didn't mean to. No, no, he's not dead. I didn't hit him that hard. Brett, check if he's breathing." His eyes wide, as if peering into the future of his own conviction, his own juvenile sentence, family shame, and pariah label. The end of his life in front of him. Brett hovered over and listened. He's breathing, barely. The boy's chest was rising and falling a quarter of an inch. There was a small pool of blood in the dirt. "Let's get out of here." The boy who hit the Neanderthal gathered his bicycle. "Go home, all of you. Don't tell anyone anything." The boys fled, one after the other. When I was sure they'd gone, I slunk from the dumpster and tiptoed to the boy on the ground. He was breathing, barely. The back of his head was a bloody pulp. He was wearing a dress. That memory floods over me when I am frightened. And I am frightened because after a minute of hemming and hawing and asking for Christ's sakes, what the hell am I doing here? And putting the key in the ignition, and taking it out and putting it back in again. A van has pulled around the corner and parked. Two men emerge, one in a loden raincoat, the other in a black wool sweater. They open the sliding door of the van and rifle through a black duffel bag. They close the bag up, slide the door shut, and head for the house. Before the man with the raincoat can conceal, I see it. I'm sure it's a pistol. 2 taps on the front door. They ring the doorbell. No answer. The man in the raincoat cracks it open. He slips his foot in and draws his weapon from his hip, slick so as to be concealed from the street. Then the two disappear. I am by myself, stunned. My brain is racing. What do I do? Who do I call? Should I just start laying on the horn? My nerves are boiling inside of me, my mind clouding over. Call the police? Tell them what? That I stalked a stranger I thought was my doppel to a place I've never been, and there are 2 armed men after him in whose house I don't know? 5 minutes zoom by. I have to do something. I don't move. A gun barrel on my temple. Cold, freezing. My toes tingle beneath me. Weight and feeling gone away. 1 click, and I'm gone. I'm gonna get in. Shut the engine off. Slide over. Don't make a sound. I do as I'm told. I kill the engine and climb over the stick shift. He sits down and closes the door. My doppel stares into my eyes. You with them? There's no saliva in my mouth. It's all evaporated. It comes out hoarse, quiet. I don't know who they are. I don't know who you are, his face stern. But you did follow me here. I nod. Yes. Why? My fingertips are itchy. The barrel is pointed at my heart because you look just like me. It sounds preposterous. Whatever I've stumbled upon, this is fate. A moth to a flame, and me to my doppel. Caught up in something I don't know, don't understand, and couldn't have foreseen. Paying the price for a bill that is not my own. I can see myself crushed into the dirt. Now I'm wearing the dress, and they've scribbled epithets on my forehead and forearms. The usual offenders. And a crude penis on my cheek, angled downwards towards my busted lip. I touch my fingertips to the back of my skull. Cherry red, I believe you, my lips trembling. What? I ask. I don't know what else to say. I believe you, that you're not with them. He's silent for a moment, and then lowers the weapon. We do look exactly alike. A leaf helicopters onto the windshield. Who are they? Tsk. He sucks his teeth. You seen that leather bag I'm totin'? I nod. Yeah. He looks me back in the eye. Well, son, what if I was to tell you that bag contained a lot of money? Would that start to fill the picture in a bit? A furrowed brow and fire in his gaze. I nod again. Needless to say, people don't normally tote bags of cash for any good reason. There's usually extracurriculars that go on to acquire such a thing, ain't there? Well, I don't wish to tell you much about how I came to be in possession of that bag, but I will say that nobody got hurt, and the people we took it from got enough bags to fill up a rail car. You understand what I'm saying? Nodding is my new language. I have no idea what this doppel is saying. No idea why there is a cowboy version of myself explaining the morality of thievery. He grunts and lights a cigarette. Well, there is a mistruth in there. Someone did get hurt. Used to be 4 of us that did this work. But Maggie, she caught a bullet we just couldn't caulk. Gushed and gushed and gushed, and then, finally, her face just went white. Gone. Like that. He snaps his fingers like catching a bullet is a period at the end of the sentence. Maggie had herself a daughter, paralyzed from the waist down in an accident when she was a youngin'. Needed a lot of care, that girl. That's why Maggie did what she did, and she was good at it. That's why she deserved her share. That's why, now she's gone, her daughter deserves what her mama earned. The doppel drags on the cigarette. The car is an ozone of tar. He rolls down the window and ashes the butt. My partners, they disagreed. He nods to the house. They're your partners? Were? Things didn't end well between us. As you can see, the lights in the house have been turned down. They're waiting. I need something from you, kid. This time, I don't nod. I need you to sneak through the back, peek in, and let me know where they are. There's a path through the neighbor's backyard that will conceal you. Leads all the way to the cellar doors, hidden by the brush. It's unlocked. They'd have no reason to be in the basement. They're waiting to ambush me upstairs. Slide in, text me where they are, then get out of there. He rips the cigarette that is now a fleck in his fingers. I'll do the rest. No. Fuck no. No way. I say these things, and then I lunge for the door. Fuck the car. Escape. Run. Figure it out later. Get to safety. Flee from this doppel. Now the boy that was attacked is in a new dress, but this dress is a hospital gown, and there's gauze over his face and head left over from surgery. The green line of the heart monitor blips meekly. I can't say no. This man has my face, and I trust him. He's magnetic. I nod. I reach for the handle, and the doppel brushes my shoulder. Take this, just in case. It's a revolver with a walnut grip. My feet move me. Around the block, and then through the neighbor's yard, hugging the fence line, and then dashing to the cellar doors. I duck in and pull the lever closed. Quiet. So quiet. Breaths now could be catastrophic. My heart pulses in my esophagus, palms with lakes pooling in them. I tiptoe to the stairs and then inch my way up, one by one. No creaks, no breaths. I edge the cellar door open, my eye in the narrow slit, hidden by the darkness. One at the kitchen table, the other in a living room chair, facing the entrance. There's something wrong. Both of their heads are jerked upwards, twisted grotesquely to the ceiling. If I'm wrong, then I'm a dead man. But I'm not wrong. They are the dead men. I push the door open, and there is no rush to kill me. No commotion at all. I'm too afraid to flip the lights. I sneak over and immediately collapse to my knees, dry heaving. I force myself to keep the bile down, eyes watering like faucets. Twin crescents carved from ear to ear, the both of them. Exposed vertebrae, horror-filled eyes, like they'd seen the devil, nothing less. The devil. The front door explodes open, and officers pour in. There are red and blue flashing lights in my periphery, melted candles of color blurring my vision from the smoke bombs. Get on the fucking ground, now! Get down or you're dead! The boy that was attacked avoided brain death, but he lived with disability all his life. I never told my parents what I saw. I didn't tell anyone. I was too scared. On a lonely highway in the moonlight, the doppel turns the radio knob. See? Don't see why. People dog me around. It must be that old evil spirit, so deep down in your ground. He turns the volume up, all the way up. Into the night, he shouts, I'm a dark mirror hound, every last drop. I enter Red Square from the south side. It's late. There's no one else around. My footfalls echo across the bricks. Then I spot him, a slender figure beneath one of the cherry trees outside Drake Hall. Silvery white hair pulled back in a ponytail. Black gloves, combat boots, a wool trench coat, the preferred attire of all psychopaths. I reach into my purse. In the next instant, he is standing right beside me. Excuse me, miss. I pepper spray him in the face. He takes it stoically, with little more than a wince. I empty the entire can, but he just stands there, squinching, like it's nothing but tepid water. Then he wipes his obsidian eyes clean with his gloved fingertips. I suppose I deserve that. I forget how fast we seem to you. Forgive me. I mean no harm. I will scream. You're Anika Chande, yes? From the physics department? Doctor, I say by reflex, sounding breathless. Who are you? Or what? Dr. Chande, forgive me, he repeats, extending a hand. My name is Sasha Volkov. I've read your books and all the papers you've published. Your work with photons is nothing short of brilliant. No pun intended. Thank you, I say flatly. I don't believe in auras, but if I did, his would be ice cold. I decline his handshake. I don't want my blood to crystallize in my veins. I'm hoping you will help me, he continues. You are perhaps the only one who can. I don't think so. His pencil-thin eyebrows pin together. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. You don't warp 15 yards across a plaza in the blink of an eye, demonstrate a superhuman immunity to capsaicin, and then ask for a favor. I see you're sporting a nice pair of fangs as well. That's very cute. Am I being punked? No, ma'am. He pulls a handkerchief out of his coat and mops his face with it. Although I have been told I look like Slavic Ashton Kutcher, I'm calling the campus police. Please, hear me out. Look, I'll show you. He walks into a beam of moonlight and vanishes. Not entirely. His outfit is still visible, but there's no one inside it. I start to deliver on my promise to scream, but the sound catches in my throat. The ludicrousness of the sight, the sheer improbability. I must be suffering a psychotic break from the stress of finals, or the sushi I had for lunch is causing hallucinations, makes me scoff and start laughing instead. Very impressive. Bravo. You see, the trench coat says, gloves raised in a gesture of helplessness. Somewhere along the way, our species developed this ability or disability, depending on your point of view, to disappear under direct light. That's why we're nocturnal. You might assume this gives us a natural predatory advantage, but it's actually incredibly frustrating. Imagine trying to eat a sandwich without being able to see your hands, and it's painful. The stronger the light, the more intense the discomfort. Is that why you live in Seattle? I snort. Because the sun is never out? Yes, exactly. Makes sense. I have a hunch there may be some sort of interference at the quantum level between our body's atoms and solar photons. That's why we have no reflection and can't be captured on film. But the human mind can't abide the irrationality. So by rote, it forms a composite to make us appear whole. He returns to the shadows and rematerializes. A fancy illusion, just smoke and mirrors. Nothing to see here. No need for an anchor to drop into my stomach, or the hairs on the back of my neck to stand up. Nature had to find some way of keeping us in check, or we would have rendered you extinct by now. What do you want? I ask, wishing my voice didn't make me sound so fragile, so human. There was an article about you in the school newsletter recently. Thanks to a generous donation from someone who wished to remain anonymous, your lab was able to get a new quantum camera and an entangled photon detector. Volkov grins, his cobra-like fangs glistening even in the dark. I am that mysterious benefactor, and I want you to take my picture. Please stop messing with me. This really isn't funny at all. I'm quite serious, actually. We use simple objects for quantum imaging, like an emblem made out of gold and silicon, not living beings. Well, according to your lore, I'm not really alive. Isn't that right? I grip the strap of my purse, certain at any moment I'm going to wake up in a puddle of my own drool at my desk, having fallen into a fever dream. Undead beings, then. The fact remains. You injure me, Doctor. I am not a zombie or a virus. My physiology is nearly identical to yours, with a few notable differences, of course. His stare is beyond unsettling. I cast my gaze towards the parking lot and keep it there in case he's trying to hypnotize me. It's very late. I need to be getting home to my family. He pretends not to hear me and carries on. I understand there may be challenges. That's why I'm asking you. You're the only one who can rise to the task. Mr. Volkov, whomever or whatever you are, I suggest you learn to take no for an answer. The first time, not the second or third or fourth. I stride away, making sure to keep my head held high, projecting indifference. Oh, come now, he says, voice dropping to an impossibly low pitch. I could just compel you to do it, but I'd rather you choose. This is an exciting opportunity for us both. My legs grow heavy. Against my will? How is he doing that? I stop in my tracks, my heartbeat rising rapidly into my throat. A mysterious gravity pulls me back in his direction, like my subconscious has staged a coup. I swallow against the growing certainty that this is actually happening. Only a monster would fail to see the false dichotomy of his proposal. All right then. Fine. In the lab, I keep the overhead lights off. The light from the monitors will have to suffice. As soon as we're inside, Volkov makes a beeline for the oversized Faraday cage one of my students built as part of her thesis. Like he knew it would be here, waiting for him. What material is this lined with? He asks through the open door. Aluminum foil. Ah, why? Worried it was silver? The muscles of his jaw twitch. No, that's another myth. Along with aversion to the crucifix, garlic, and wooden stakes. Nothing but superstitious nonsense, which, if I'm honest, I find rather insulting. I see. It's going to take a while to get everything prepared. I can wait, I hear him say. Except his lips didn't move. Much like your ascetic monks, we are capable of remaining motionless for protracted periods of time. Even when speaking into my mind, he sounds like a robot. Stop that. I don't like it. It's invasive. Forgive me, he says for the millionth time. But at least it's out loud. I set to work calibrating the laser with the beam splitter. Then ensure the quantum camera is in position to catch all the action. Once the photons pass through the vacuum chamber and into the Faraday cage, they will entangle with Volkov's atoms, or won't, if there is indeed some sort of interference. Then the beam will be rejoined on the other side by a sensor. The high-precision spectrometer, along with the computer program on my laptop, will gather and interpret the data. You do understand that should we manage to get an image, it's going to be little more than a ghostly outline, right? Nothing like an actual photograph. When was the last time you saw your reflection, Doctor? In the bathroom, after class, I've never seen myself at all. Not in the surface of a lake, nor the glint of an eye, nor a darkened pane of glass. You cannot cast a shadow if you are never in the sun. I've commissioned sketches and paintings, of course, but it isn't the same, is it? I've never seen a real, tangible image of Sasha Volkov. He pauses. Because he's so still, I can't tell if he's battling with something or just going dormant. Can you imagine how that feels? To have so little confirmation of your very existence? I mean, I teach for a living. I shrug. I wonder how many people he's fed on. How many pints of blood he's drank. Thousands, he says, reading my thoughts again. Why is that relevant? I asked you not to do that. I can't help it. It's like asking me to ignore a blaring car alarm. If you want my help, then you can try. He doesn't move. Yet I feel his irritation growing, as though he's funneling his feelings directly into me. How many animals have you consumed in your lifetime? How many cows, chickens, fish? I'm vegan. Have been since 2006. Figured you would know that. The point is, you don't think of your food in those terms. Would you castigate a lion for feasting on a lamb? It is the way of things. We have been with you since the beginning, in the shade of your monuments, co-evolving. Nature designed us for a singular purpose, to cull the human herd. But as you can see, we're doing a piss-poor job of it. There's more of you than ever. In a surprising, potentially deceptive twist, I feel his emotions sink into self-pity, like he believes, ultimately, it is he who is the victim. Aren't your kind just humans who've been bitten and turned? Like Lestat and Lewis, his irritation blooms into full-blown disgust. Ridiculous. Can you turn a chimpanzee into a Homo sapiens? We reproduce the same way you mammals do, via fornication and pregnancy. We are warm-blooded, after all. It's just not our blood. It doesn't originate from our bone marrow. His anger cools a few degrees, and he adds, I have never been human, but I have lived. I have seen wonders and horrors you cannot begin to fathom. We have our own society, tucked away in the nooks and crannies of yours. Our own ambitions, too. Glad for the change of subject, I announce. We are ready to run our first trial. Please stop talking now and remain stationary. Volkov shuts the door and settles in. I click on the laser. The beam is split and sent into the cage. The hum of the machinery comforts me, brings to mind the many students who've used it to embark on their first voyage into the realm of the subatomic. The inevitable look of rapture when they finally see the particles they've spent so long reading about. In the midst of this rumination, I realize it's providing a kind of psychic cover. My subject is occupied, the grip of his influence weakened. I slip a ballpoint pen into the pocket of my blazer and pray he doesn't notice. We run 6 trials in total. The whole process takes a little over 2 hours. Once it's finished, I take a screenshot of the results and send it to the printer in my office. Volkov exits the cage and joins me, and once it's printed, I hand him the copy. He accepts it like it's his birth certificate. Like I said, pretty grainy, but it worked, he murmurs. His fingers trace over the grayscale form, caressing it. He is totally transfixed. I feel his heady mixture of elation and awe, the vanity that coils around his heart like a serpent. "It's me," he whispers. "You got what you came for. I need to get going now. My family will be worried." Volkov gives me the side eye. "Surely you know by now that lying to me is pointless." "I don't know what you mean." "If I don't get home soon, you live alone, Doctor. Have since your breakup with Paul. You don't own any pets, nothing that depends on you for its survival. Not so much as a cactus. Your younger sister calls to check up on you every so often, but not often enough." He sounds bored with the subject, preferring to pore over the printout with the intensity of an art appraiser. "Is there anything else your system picked up on?" I push aside the sense of betrayal and shake my head. "The emissions analysis produced a string of errors. That would seem to confirm your hypothesis of some kind of interference, as no entanglement occurred in any of the 6 runs. But it would take a much more thorough experiment to isolate the actual cause of that interference." "I see," he says, licking his chops. "No matter. Still a tremendous success." Unable to help myself, I blurt out, "Are you going to kill me now?" He blanches. He's probably manipulating me, but I can feel the sting of hurt feelings in his chest. "Of course not, Doctor. You have me all wrong." He clutches the printout in both hands and peers around the lab, taking it all in. "I want you to study me further. Enlist the help of others, if need be. People we can trust to test my DNA and take blood samples. Think about it. If we can produce more results like this, you can publish them. These findings will fundamentally alter the world's understanding of biology and quantum mechanics. And what might that do for your career?" When I don't say anything, he continues, "It's time Homo sapiens learned they are not so alone as they imagine. It is time for us to evolve beyond the predator/prey dynamic and work together. We have to do something before your species gets us all killed with your utter disregard for the health of this planet." His eyes land on me. Despite his orders, I feel sick to my stomach, because in his zeal, he's accidentally let slide a few of his memories. I see his first kill at just 4 years old, hunting with his father in the streets of Quebec. The elderly homeless man bundled up in a doorway, the pale, mottled flesh of his throat, the profound hunger, 1,000 times stronger than any I've ever experienced, an insatiable need. The man awakens and finds himself immobilized by Volkov's father. Fear pours out of him in a thick stench. His final thoughts are filled with deep regret. He's struggled so hard for so long, endured so much, and survived on so little, only to meet his end as some night creature's meal. And little Volkov loves it. Every drop of remorse, every pitiable whimper, every dream. He feeds on them along with the blood, gorges on the man's life force until he's full as a tick. And his father says simply, "Good." I see his most recent kill from earlier in the night. Stephanie Albright, the student who made the Faraday cage. He broke into her dorm and drained her in her sleep. She died and never saw it coming. Volkov looks at me now. He knows that I know. "Don't," he warns. I jam the ballpoint pen into his chest. My aim is perfect. It lodges between the ribs slightly, to the left of his sternum, and hits something hard, catching when he takes a breath. He growls at me. "I told you that wouldn't work." Then I'm soaring through the air. My body collides with the quantum camera, shattering it against the wall. I land in a heap on the floor, sparks raining down around me. Pain shoots up my spine. The wind knocked out of me. Volkov is on top of me in seconds, his weight like a 1,000-ton hydraulic press. There is no further possibility of fighting back. "Do it then," I hiss at him. "I will not be like the man in the streets. I will not go to my death without dignity. If he's going to eat me, let him taste nothing but pure hatred." "Do it, you fucking parasite." He flinches again. I feel his emotions fan out in a kaleidoscope of rage, disappointment, and woe, beneath which is a childlike longing for my approval. He can't hide it now that I've seen it. His need for recognition that washes over me in waves. It's nearly as overwhelming as his hunger, an insecurity born of being raised with no mother. "We could have done important work together," he says, voice choked with repudiation. Remember that, then he's gone. His presence peels away like a bad dream. The overhead lights turn on. "Dr. Chande?" asks Officer Thompson. He's standing in the doorway, holding a nightstick. The school won't let him carry a gun. "Everything okay in here?" Shakily, I get to my feet and survey the damage to the lab. Other than the broken camera, all the equipment is intact. There's no sign Volkov was ever here, except for the image on my laptop. I'm okay, officer, I say, but we need to send the local police to Stephanie Albright's dorm room. There's been a homicide. Gripping his stick closer, Thompson asks, "How do you know that?" I stare at the screen. Its spray pattern of photons in a vaguely humanoid shape. The world's first evidence of the supernatural. But it could be anything. No better than a UFO sighting or a blurry photograph of Bigfoot in the woods. I clear my throat and glance at the officer. In the wake of Volkov's influence, my emotions come flooding back with a vengeance. Hot tears spill down my face. I clear my throat and remind myself, no matter what I experience, I am a scientist. Call it a hunch,